hobby friends. I'm here joined today with my co-host Mike. We are Collateral Damage, and we have an important question to ask. Should you go to Lock and Load? We did a couple of weeks ago, and we want to talk through our experience, share the information that we got, and the events that we participated in, and all of that good stuff. And we'll walk through that and more. And then hopefully by the end of this conversation, we can make a determination that if you're a War Machine fan, if Lock and Load is a good decision for you to make as an event to attend. So it was a bit of an easy sell for us. As you may know, we are in the central Kentucky area, and the convention was held at Warfaire Weekend was the parent convention that Lock and Load was hosted at, and it's located in St. Louis, which is only about 5 hours or so away from where we are. Not the world's worst car ride, but short enough that it really wasn't a consideration to have to add in the expense for flying or anything for us. So we loaded up a couple of cars with the whole Collateral Damage family, and we headed out to St. Louis on Thursday. Some folks were able to get their badges and stuff Thursday night to be ready first thing Friday morning. We got in a little too late for that, but we got up Friday morning, got some delicious Ethiopian coffee from a place that was near our Airbnb, and got to the con.
That was a surprise. That place was kind of blew my mind. We're like, "What's good here?" And they just gave us something,
Yeah,
and it was. I was kind of bouncing off the walls. I was ready to play.
yeah. We're fortunate that both Lexington, which is very close to where Mike and I both have our like home offices for our work, and Mike used to live there. Is a pretty big town, and then Louisville, of course, is not far away from us. Cincinnati's not too far away either, and so we've got some. Even though Kentucky's not really known for being a mega population center, we've got some big places near us. So we've had a lot of cool stuff, but it's always fun to go to a place like St. Louis or any new con place and find out where are all the fun places to eat, to grab a coffee, maybe to get a drink or to socialize, that kind of stuff. So this was another great find. We've got a few places that we go to St. Louis quite a bit for conventions and for tournaments. So we had a few places on our list that we absolutely wanted to go, but this was just a nice. We just looked for coffee that was near our Airbnb, and we saw this place, and we're lucky that in Louisville we've got a really good Ethiopian restaurant called Queen of Sheba. So when we saw that, and we've gotten coffee from there before, and it's very good. So we thought, this is a whole coffee place focused on that. So really awesome. The owners were awesome, and we're very grateful and happy to see us and ask us questions about why we were in town, that kind of stuff, and that's always fun. So. But yeah, we could talk about the coffee all day. What we're here to talk about is War Machine. I am a bit of a coffee snob, so you'll have to forgive me a little bit. But I'll also preface that, not to get into the real life stuff too much, but October and November were really tough months for a lot of the Collateral Damage folks. We had some really tough personal stuff come up. I know I did. I know Mike did. I know Corey did, and our buddy Will, friend of the channel Will, who came with us, did too. So we were all kind of in a mindset of, while we are competitive players at our heart, and we love tournaments, where real life just got a little tough for us, we decided we just kind of wanted a fun vacation, no real pressure, just good vibes and good times. So while we had some events, none of us, we didn't play in the last chance qualifier. We weren't playing in the IG tournament on Saturday or the big team tournament or anything like that. We just had some more casual events and decided we wanted to spend a lot of time just playing either friends we hadn't seen in a long time or just random new friends that we'd yet to meet in the Iron Arena. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So no big tournament recap from us this time, although that stuff is awesome. and we certainly had a few friends from our meta who went up to do just that. And had a blast in some really well run, well organized events. But just for us, we just did some casual stuff, played some fun games, ate some great food, had in a couple of adult beverages thrown in here and there, and generally had just a really good time. So I'll kick it over to you, Mike, and we can talk about what we got up to on Friday.
So kind of Friday we got there. We had like some of people from our meta, Tony, who's played on the channel a few times. He plays Kador, who I always bow to whenever I need to make a Kador list. Was playing in the last chance qualifier, and I think what 3 or 4 other friends of ours. Like you said, Corey was going to, but real life has been getting in the way for everybody, so we're just having a good time. So we kind of rolled in kind of early because we heard rumors they were going to be selling some stuff that we wanted to make sure we were able to get a hold of. Of course, we got there, got our badges, which was a very, very easy experience. That's one thing about Warfaire Weekend. Everybody's always just super nice, super friendly. We got there, got our badges real fast. Got to go into the lock and loaded room, which is where the main booth was set up. Stood in line, got in there pretty fast. Was able to pick up the new physical rulebook, which is, I want to talk about that for a sec. It's beautiful. The artwork in it's amazing. I think it's laid out really well. There's a new kind of like a get started section in it if you haven't got your hands on the rulebook for new players. That walks you through playing the game step by step with the what is it? It's Kador in the Signar box that they use as the example in there. But it's laid out really well on how to actually play the game, and it kind of introduces things as you go through it. But my favorite part of it is just the rules are kind of laid out in a way where it's very easy to flip through. And I'm kind of the guy who actually likes physical media. If you could see behind me, you'd see all the physical games that I have, just because I'm a huge collector of all that. I just like having stuff. But after sitting in line for a while, we went up to the other vendor hall that was upstairs. That was kind of the everybody else vendor hall. There wasn't that many in there. I think there was maybe 5 people in there. There was a bunch of 3D printed stuff in there, like the little dragons that move, or the dice towers. There was the tabletop armory people were there. They were really nice, and they had a lot of really cool products. They had this the sheet that you could buy that was 2 separate boards with acrylic sheets on top of them, and you could set up your spell racks in there, and you got enough tokens to do it. And it should be on the screen right now so you can see it. It was really neat, and the prices were actually pretty reasonable. Actually ended up buying some measuring sticks for them. But they were kind of the only one up there that had Warmachine specific stuff. They had all like the command cards written out, burned out, and they had some really nice stackable dice trays and things that I've seen a bunch of people use. Overall, it was pretty neat in there. And there was also, what was it was ye old there's another laser cutter guy. What was his name?
Ye old lasersmith.
Yeah, he had some really neat stuff. He had uh some like Pokemon cards that were kind of printed and cut out, and he had like a map of Middle Earth and things like that. Stuff that you wouldn't, or like the Witcher map, the Zelda's map, things like that. It was pretty neat that stuff he had. Things that not everybody may be into at Warmachine Weekend, but stuff that I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it took a lot of your boy here has almost 1,200 hours in Stardew Valley. It took me a lot of uh, fretting over my con budget to not buy the Woodburn map of Stardew Valley that he had. It was probably it's like 11 by 14. It was pretty big. It looked really nice on my wall, but
Oh yeah.
I wanted to save that cash for any miniature needs.
we we started playing some arena games. I met this nice gentleman from, I think it was Simon, from Canada. He'd come down to play. He played a Chimera. He played a different kind of list than what our local meta Chimera player Seth does. It was kind of interesting to play with him because I kind of got a different idea of it. That was a very fun game with him. I got really, really lucky in that game and was able to kind of pull him in and get a caster kill off. But we didn't play with clock or anything. We just kind of played and enjoyed ourselves, talked, and I got to ask some questions about some things that I hadn't seen on the table yet. Um, that was really nice. I think I played him, and then I played one more other person, and I can't quite remember the name off the top of my head right now. Um, I think we played him, and then who'd you play? Did you get some games in too, Anthony?
I did. Let me just rewind for just a second and explain to folks. If you don't know how the Iron Arena works, this is something that Steamforge, well, Privateer used to do it back in the day, and now that Steamforge is at the helm, they're continuing the tradition. What it is they have a free play area set up. They had it at Adepticon this year. They have it at Lock and Load. They'll probably have it at every major con that they have a major presence at. But you get a card, and that card has a place for punches or stamps. And every time you play a game in Iron Arena with somebody, you get a stamp or a punch. And then once you accumulate so many punches or stamps, you can trade that in for swag. And they had really good swag in the Iron Arena this year. So like for like 1 point, you could get one of the cool Baron of Dice, a black matte lock and load special dice, as one example. And then for like 2 or 3 points, you could get a set of lock and load branded objectives, like your 40, your 50, your cash, your flag, one of each of those that were in laser cut plastic, all the way up to like at 10 points they had like whole Baron of dice sets. They had really nice, I don't remember if they were Broken Egg or one of the major manufacturers had a set of measuring sticks that you could get that were lock and load branded. It's just really nice stuff, and it's all free. There's no ticket other than your ticket to the con to participate in Iron Arena, and it's just they just want people to play games, and then once you play enough, you can cash out and get some goodies, and you get stamps for Iron Arena if you do events too. Like if you do the narrative event, you got two. Mike and I got two for doing one of the playtest events. And then I know, like, if you're playing in the big tournaments, you get a stamp for every round you participate in the tournament. So if it's a 5-round tournament, you get 5 stamps. So pretty neat, and a good way to get some cool stuff. I know Mike got a set of the lock and load dice. I ended up getting a bunch of measuring widgets and those sets of objective markers to give to some of our new players in the meta when we got back. But yeah, it's a really great system and encourages people to just free play games either after they're done with their tournament, or if they're not wanting to play in a tournament and just want to play games. And it's a good way to meet people, make new friends, and that kind of stuff.
I will say it was kind of funny because you could actually tell that some of the mats that they had to pull out for Iron Arena hadn't been brought out in a while. And they had creases put into them where they've been rolled up for a long time. So it was good to see that the game is growing so much they had to pull those old mats back out to put on the table for people to use.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll say, just in general, Warfare Weekend / Lock and Load this year at least is not the biggest con that you'll ever see. It is not a con on the scale of LVO or Nova or Adepticon, but it is certainly larger than your little local hometown 32-man tournament. If I had to just gut feeling guess how many, I'd say there was what do you think, Mike? Between 300 and 400 people at the convention this year.
Yeah, that sounds about
Yeah,
right.
it feels about right. And what was great about it is it's all contained in one hotel. It's a nice hotel too. We've stayed there before, and it's certainly worth doing so. We just had a really big party and decided to do the Airbnb route this year. And really nice hotel, all contained in the one space. But there was a lot of people there. It wasn't hard to get games in Iron Arena, but it never felt crowded. Everybody had plenty of space to move around. We didn't have to fight for tables or for space or anything like that. So just nice that way.
Had plenty of stuff set up for anybody to play, and that's something I want to say first off to everybody. Everybody I talked to, everybody I met across everything was a pleasure to deal with, a pleasure to talk to. I didn't have a bad game the whole time I was there, and I played a decent amount of games. Which I quite enjoyed because I got to play some people I'd never met before and got to make a bunch of new friends, which is part of why Arena is so great. Um, Getting points for playing people you don't know, or getting points for playing people and winning free stuff is a great way to be like, hey, let's introduce these new people from different metas together. So
Yeah, for sure. And I'll mention one other thing too, about the size of the convention in general. So while there were, like I say, a few hundred people there, uh, multiple times, not just in the events that we were in that were hosted by folks, we just got face to face time to talk with the Steamforge staff, whether that's, Matt and Rich, the co-founders, were just walking the floor. Jamie Perkins, the sort of head playtester slash product manager for War Machine, walking the floor. Sherwin, the lore guy. Everybody was just walking around and available and talkative and
very
it
approachable.
was really very approachable. Yeah. So we several times we got to chat with them and talk about games in general, and how much we appreciate, the way that War Machine's going right now, and how we've got a good wind in the game sales.
You could really tell that talking to them too, that the love they have for the game. It's not just I know it's their job, but you can tell the way their eyes light up and the way they talk about how cool this thing is, or they're doing this thing, and they can't wait for something for us to see new things that are coming out. It's pretty great to be in that part because then we played GW games for a long time, and I don't think I've ever had a GW rep or owner of the company or anything be out there like somebody that I felt I can go and talk to. It was always
Yeah.
very hurry up, move along, go get your stuff. And these guys,
Yeah.
they just sit and talk to us as long as we wanted to talk to them.
I could tell you individual, like, top tier players for Games Workshop games, but I couldn't pick a GW staffer out of a lineup except for the two thin coats paint guy who's not with them anymore.
Yeah, Duncan.
Duncan, yeah, yeah.
But we all sat around and played some Iron Arena, and then we, of course, went and had some good food, came back, and then I had to play my worst opponent of the weekend.
We're going to play this really nice gentleman I met. His name is, what'd you say again?
Turd Ferguson.
Turd Ferguson. I hope that this is a good game. He's playing Drolls. I've never heard of them before, so I'm pretty excited to play those.
Blind Bloods.
Me and Anthony, oddly enough, don't get to play that much because we tend to make sure that everybody else gets a game in. Who gets to get the game in because we play a lot. So we were sitting there, and then when we got back from eating, everybody was gamed up. So we're like, well, let's me and him play. So we played until of course, the big event of the day, the keynote.
Yep.
The keynote had so much hype in it. I don't know how I didn't pass out from screaming. There was just so much good stuff in it. So many awesome things. I mean, just them starting off with just seeing the OU Colossal. How cool was that thing? That thing is amazing. I couldn't believe how awesome that was. And they were like, oh yeah, by the way, somebody mentioned that it'd be really cool to see a Strix with their wings open. Here's an alt Strix for this con. It's going to be here tomorrow. And I can't remember the name of the little German caster.
Vilcool.
Vilcool. They're like, oh yeah, Vilcool's a super journeyman in OU. Let's make a version of them that's very OU style. And I was like, we have to have that for the for our channel army.
I don't know why. It's just some weird part of my brain about the Gorger, the OU Colossal. The fact that its giant stick has siege weapons. I don't know why. It just tickles me to no end. It's like, all right, Earthshaker cannon has siege weapons. All right, that makes sense. Giant, like, bunker breaker missile launcher has siege weapon. Okay, that makes sense. Half of a tree. Okay, let's give it siege weapon. It's on a giant skeletal, gargantuan monstrosity thing. So
It's a really,
whatever.
really big tree, Anthony. What do you expect?
But yeah, that thing also has a melee AOE attack. on the whip. Wow.
What?
Yeah. So I am excited as the Dickens to see that, but also terrified
Oh yeah.
because neither of us play OU. But it looked really good. Yeah, for sure.
And then we got to the part that made you get up and start clapping. They showed the Crucible
Which,
Guard. You're
oh
already
yeah.
have been
So,
hyped for Crucible Guard.
yeah. So
Spoilers. That's what Anthony's maining next year.
well, probably. So I have been playing war games now for 30 years. Yeah, I'm old. I have bought and sold over countless game systems, over countless iterations, so many armies, bought into armies, sold armies, back and forth, even some of them multiple times because I don't know, I am the way I am. But I've never really regretted selling any army that I've ever had except for my Crucible Guard. At the end of Mark III, before Mark IV, I had everything for Crucible Guard, maximum FA, and it was, I'd say, probably 90% painted. It was only really just the very latest stuff, like the failed experiments, like the Rocketman Stingers and that kind of stuff that hadn't been painted. Everything else was done. And unfortunately, that was about the time that we'd kind of fallen out of love with the game. Uh, our local FLGS stopped stocking War Machine because of some of the stuff Privateer Press did with their distributors that wasn't super great. So it was hard to get new stuff, and we didn't really. The population of our player base was dwindling. So, and then COVID happened, and my job went away, and it took me a little while to find a new one. So unfortunately, during that time period, I decided to sell my Crucible Guard, and I don't regret doing that because it allowed me to take care of myself financially until my next job opportunity came up. I do regret selling it because I love that army. I love the aesthetic. I love the way that it played. So even back when we first heard the news that they were going to be re-releasing all of the limited factions for War Machine, I knew that like I was probably gonna if I could get it right in my head to want to be able to want to do all that work again and repaint and rebuild that army, I was going to be really excited to do so. Well, when they put the Railless Interceptor out as a freebie on the War Machine 3D a couple months ago, I immediately was just like, print 3.
Let's go.
Let's just print 3. And then Lot came out and we're like, print that immediately. And then, of course, at the convention, they released what is the new cadre, the starter command. I'll never get all these terminology, but the 30-point cadre starter, command starter, I don't know.
Close enough.
It came out. Yeah. And they had a very limited amount of them physically there for purchase, but I'm a pretty seasoned 3D printer, so I just decided I'd get those going when we got home. But no, super excited about them coming back. The new stuff is really cool. I've got all that stuff printed out now, and of course, you got Lucas and Alice and the Ascendant Mentalists from the old ways, from the old army that are great. But the new Jack Apollo is really sweet. Character lights are pretty rare in general, so it's cool to have him. He's definitely he's not just a beat stick, I'll say that. So be interested to see how he gets some once I start getting enough stuff to get some a big enough army to get some table time. We'll see how that goes. And then the triumvirate, the character unit, just looks awesome. I don't know why. I just love that. There's the 40 millimeter character in that called Hieronymus, and he looks like a failed experiment. But instead of having like a Tetsubo or just some claws, he has a giant mechanical hammer, and he's just holding it on across his shoulders like an absolute badass. So I love that miniature. So I actually just painted it up a couple days ago. So But no, I'm really excited to get more stuff in December. They're giving us the dang Vulcan on War Machine 3D. How crazy is that? What an excellent holiday present that will be. And not to mention the battle group starter comes out halfway through the month. So I think probably by the end of the year I may be pretty close to having. I definitely have a 50-point army. I could probably stretch it a little bit. It may be a 2 Vulcan or Vulcan 2 rail list or something, but we could probably put 100 points on the table. It might not be the most optimized thing, but that doesn't matter if you're having a good time. But yeah, I'll mention this too real quick. Everybody in the room, it may not have come through good on the VOD. A lot of people who were watching the VOD at home were sending us like, are y'all just like asleep over there? I don't think the microphones captured how insane that room was as these announcements were going up, but people were losing their mind.
Oh yeah.
When they announced the chemical warfare thing for Crucible Guard, that continuous effects do not expire in Crucible Guard command ranges, or control ranges rather, and they do double damage, everybody was like, what?
It's like, no.
So that's going to be interesting to see how that evolves their play style, and I'm interested as heck in exploring it once we get a few more pieces and parts to put on the field. So I know I'm not the only one either. Just around the Discords and Reddits and forums and stuff where I go and talk to people are super enthusiastic about Crucible Guard. So looking forward to seeing a lot more of that in battle in the new year.
Then we got to the part that I got so excited about that it was pointed out to me that you can hear me scream in the live stream. They revealed the 80 millimeter the Jack's Apotheosis ones or whatever it is. Death Jack, Thunderhead, Behemoth 2 or Behemoth 2, and was it Azdrack?
Azdrack, yeah.
Azdrack. And when the Death Jack came on that screen, I just lost it. The model is so beautiful. I was like, I have to have that. I have to have it right now. And they turned around and said, oh, you can buy them tomorrow? I was like, well, I'm getting up super early.
Yeah, they had both Azdrack and Death Jack at the convention for pre-purchase, along with the stuff that the Vilcool, the Altstrix, and then the Crucible. They, like I said, they had a very limited amount of the Crucible Guard cadre.
So that was kind of my excitement, and then they started to bring up more armies that are coming out. They talked about the Dusk Bane of Nero a little bit more.
Yep.
Basically,
Vampires on Bats.
Vampires on Bats. They are like the OG vampires for the Dusk. Like they've been around since before Retribution Lost. Is that what they said?
Yeah, so they're the original Eldritch, which got driven underground by the rest of the Iosans when they were like, hey, we don't like necromancers. And now that everybody's an Eldritch or a Soulless, the Fane of Nero's sort of come back up to the surface and be like, hey guys, here you're all vampires now. You want our help now? And they're like,
I guess.
Yes, yeah.
They didn't touch much on the Reaper Covenant for the Orgoth. I wish they had, because that's one that I'm actually really excited about.
We do know they're the OG Orgoth invasion that decided to just become undead and will themselves into stasis and tombs.
Yeah.
Until it was time, and I guess it is time.
What was it part of the lore? The reason why some of them are waking up is that the Cephalics are burying deeper and actually coming across their tombs and stuff and opening them up, which was... The lore is getting really cool, which we'll touch on more later. And then, of course, the big announcement at the very end of the show about armies coming up is Minoth is coming back, which we'll get our first updates on that at Adepticon. They just said, by the way, Minoth's coming back. And, of course, everybody's like, where's them dinos?
Gotta be careful saying that, Mike. Sherwin will tell you to shut up for the rest of the session.
That was great. Then we found out some stuff about 2026 Steamroller packet. The biggest change, which everybody's heard of by now, is spell racks are going away. So,
Yep.
I'm going to be. Anthony was instantly happy about that. No, he stood up and clapped. I was a little on the fence about it until I sat down and thought about it and listened to them talk about it. Casters don't really have an identity, and it's kind of true. The more they say it, the more I thought about it, because everybody just takes the same couple of spells. Like I bring Degathus, I got Carnage. I bring anybody, I'm taking Carnage, and
Well,
it's just
I think so. I'm actually, even though I did stand up and clap, I think I am a little torn on it. I will say there is a lot of merit to the idea that you have to look at some of the factions in a vacuum a little bit. So you have, well, let's look at Orgoth. If I'm not mistaken, who won the Iron Gauntlet this year at Lock and Load, one listed it with Horrocks in Orgoth. Well, why did he one list it? Well, because Horrocks take away all of the spells on the spell rack, has so many rules on him that are incredible. His stat line, incredible. Everything that he does, incredible. So if he has access to the same pool of spells, minus the 1 or 2 signature spells that he has, why are you not going to just take him every game? If you can sort of tailor what he can go up against to make him good into a variety of things based on the spell rack, just to dial him into what you need to solve for, why not? Then you have other, like other casters that you never see in that faction because they just don't, their only sin is that they're not Horrocks. So, and that's true for a lot of factions. You definitely, it's interesting because some of the old argument for the spell rack is that, well, in the old ways, in Mark II and Mark III, you would have casters, your TK casters, your telekinesis casters or whatever, always rose to the top. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Haley was incredible. Like every iteration, and it had TK. The Cephalix, Texas used to have TK. Is it Scaverus that has TK in Old Cricks, I think? Yeah. Fantastic. That's true. You have a phenomenal spell, you're really good, but it really wasn't any different. You just, instead of looking at the spells, you looked at the mechanics that they had on their card that weren't spells, and then you just, since everybody has access to the same spells, it really didn't change much, except I think it made people more likely to just pick the casters based on what they could do outside of the spells, and then just tailor them. Like I said, prime example being the one list Horrocks takes care of the entire field because he's just so good.
Yeah.
So I think now, I look to Brian Bloods, the faction that I've played the most, and we know that certain faction defining spells are getting put on casters that don't have a high play rate. And I think that makes that a compelling choice, that if you have, I got to be careful here. If you have a spell like Fury Strength in Trolls, which is a +2 damage buff for melee damage rolls, and you put it on one of the casters who, we'll just say, is taken rarely, then you might want to give that caster a second look, because you can't just pick. Gotta step carefully.
Gotta be careful here.
Yeah, you're not just gonna pick the same ones you always pick just because their standard rules are good.
Right.
So,
I know one we can talk about, because I talked about it in the keynote. Nakane. She is a caster who is supposed to work really good with incorporeal stuff. Well, they're going to give her a spell that turns something incorporeal, so that they can benefit from her plus our armor buff. And they said in there that some casters are going to get decent reworks, changing some of their feat things, adding spells. They've had to come up with some new spells to make things, which kind of goes hand in hand with the lethality changes they're wanting to do, which is very interesting. The concept of how that comes across. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony. The way they kind of said it is like they're noticing that people are kind of playing cat and mouse a little too much because they're worried about everything dying as soon as it makes on contact. They want that choice to be a lot. I may be able to kill that unit instead of, oh, I'm going to kill that whole unit when I get into it. Which,
yeah. So I think what they, whether it's their play testers, whether it's player feedback, whether it's just their own sort of internal noticing, I think it's whatever side of this you come down on. I think you can say that mats and rats, and in certain cases damage, can exceed the point to where there's really not a defense or an armor value that it matters. I'll give you a for instance. And I use this as my example all the time. I'm not just picking on Mike here. But synergy exists on Morton Ebra. Okay. So does Carnage on the Krieg spell rack. If you have your synergy on 3, so you're adding +3 to hit and +3 to damage to every cohort attack, and you have Carnage up, that is a +5 mat swing. On a 7 mat malefactor, that is, you're effectively mat 12. The highest defense that I think is probably in the game is stuff like Kane, and I think he's either 17 or 18, and that's less than average dice. You don't even need to boost really to hit defense 17 or 18. Not to mention the fact that you're going to be +5 damage swing from the 3 synergy and then the Curse of Shadows head or Dark Shroud head. So I think, that's an extreme case.
Yeah.
Of Morton Ebra with Carnage and a malefactor, but
it's
not an isolated incident. My Marauders they have gang, they can get veteran leader from Hora. Oh my gosh, his name just flew out of my mind. The cool guy with the cigar and the 2 flaming swords, Horgoth.
There you go. He
has +1 veteran leader to all Marauders within 10. If you take the Tapper attachment, that gives inspiration to the unit. So they can easily have a +4 swing on their mats with no spells added. That's just their natural gang there to get to 8, and then 2 more from outside sources to be mat 10 pretty trivially. So I understand where that's coming from. You end up having to be like, it becomes a really cagey sort of dance around who starts the peace trading. And there's not a lot of, I do know that there's Khador players in general get a little bit of a stick for being the most complainy. And maybe that's an old meme from Mark II and Mark III. But I do feel for them right now. They get sold a bill of goods that their jacks are slow but super durable. But let me tell you, defense 10, armor 20 ain't nothing. When it's easy to see POW 22, POW 23, POW 24 attacks, not on like Colossals and Gargantuans, pretty easy to access in almost every faction, then that's kind of rough. So we've heard bits and pieces the whole weekend. We've heard a few bits and pieces since then and other AMAs and the most recent Black Friday TikTok stream and stuff like that. But I'm just sort of I'm cautiously optimistic for the changes they want to make. I do tend to agree that mats and rats are too high. I am hopeful that this will be a very finessed and nuanced approach to changes instead of just being everything just loses a mat and rat off the top.
Yeah.
I think, but we'll see come January. I'm super excited for that.
I heard them say it a couple of times, like a lot of times when they did math on getting people's mats and rats, it'd come out to like 6.5 or 5.5. And every time they did, they would round it up. So if it was a
Yeah.
5.5, they go to 6, or 6.5, they go to 7. They went back, and everything that had that, they dropped it down. So 6.5 would be a 6.
Yeah, they
So
rounded
forth.
down instead. Yeah, I remember them saying that now that you say that. But yeah, more to come on that in January for sure. But it's a really exciting. We're in a weird time. Everybody's really excited for the potential changes, whether that's the spell racks and seeing what new goodies all the casters, because every single caster that's prime is probably going to get some little touch or tweak. Now I don't know that all the legacy armies. I don't know if like old Signar and old Kador and that kind of stuff's getting touched, but all the Mark IV armies, and then as we've seen a little bit, uh, a few little touches here and there to stuff like Dark Ops and to, even though they don't have spell racks, they'll definitely have some changes based on some of the fallout here. So it's really exciting. We have all that to look for in January, but and to the point that I've even heard a lot of people, myself included, saying that it's going to be the Mark 4.5 come January. Sort of not a hard reset into a new edition, but definitely a lot of sea change. The core rules, of course, staying the same, but sort of a lot of approaches will be different. But it's an interesting thing because we've got a tournament coming up in a couple weeks at Epic Loot in Dayton, which we're looking forward to very much. But it's like, to give it a real world equivalent, we're kind of in like a lame duck congressional session where it's like, we might as well just play the fun stuff now because nothing really matters until January because everything's going to change. So I know I've been messing around a little bit with Dark Ops, or as I call it, Crick Zero, because it's all the bullshit, none of the guilt. I know other people are playing casters they don't normally play and just toying around with different stuff. So it's kind of a fun, easygoing, low pressure time. We just wait and let the hype build. So yeah, keynote was excellent. The Q&A was awesome. I think, gosh, just about everybody on the collateral damage crew asked a question or two.
Yeah.
I asked the question about, is when Pharaoh comes out, is Carver going to get a new model, or are they going to rework the existing model with him and Big Pig into a full caster? And they said they were going to do that, which makes me super excited, not just to see a full Carver, but also independent rules for the bringer of most massive destruction.
Asked about my love, Company of Iron, because it's real close to my heart. And well, I was told not now. I was told it was not off the table. So that is very, very exciting. Kind of the word we got is that they are seeing the success of kill teams, and like maybe we should do something.
Yeah.
But to their credit, they said they wanted to focus on Warmachine and get that going great first, because they don't want to sacrifice Warmachine being in any way dumbed down to bring out another game. And I'm like, I appreciate that 1,000%. So
yeah, I did actually, in my heart of hearts, I'm a competitive player.
Yep.
I'm a tournament player. But they did talk about, I think it was in the keynote and not one of the other sessions that we attended, that they're sort of going to, sometime after the 2026 Steamroller packet, they're going to be releasing some new casual play stuff and some like official narrative stuff with some like really cool asymmetric scenarios to play, and like some connected scenarios where it's like, so almost like choose your own adventure stuff, where it's like you play this scenario, and if this happens, then when you play your next scenario, then these things change. And even though I am a tournament player, I love that stuff. I think all that stuff has a great place. Not every person in your local meta is going to want to be a, hardcore all the time tournament player. And you need to, as we continue to grow and shape our meta. I know that we want to definitely do some of that kind of stuff. And we got a little more information about the press gang program. There's a website up now that you can. This was during the keynote. One of our locals, Sean, is gung ho into that. I was a press ganger back in the day. He was too. And since we're doing this stuff, we're excited to hopefully Sean can get this press ganger crown back and run us some awesome events, including some of this more casual narrative focused stuff too, because it's really important. The lore for the Iron Kingdom is always super, super cool, and they do a great job putting scenarios and stuff like that together. So we're excited for that stuff too.
I think those scenarios are going to be a lot of fun, especially if they did like they talked about at Adepticon last year, where they're going to the terrain kits they release are going to have narrative missions with them.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we forgot to touch base on with the keynote is they showed their work again. They were like, "This is stuff we promised at Adepticon. This is where we're at with it," and that level of transparency is something that means a lot to me as a player. So,
yeah, they're definitely putting their money where their mouth is, and it's very gratifying to see, like, even like, I know a lot of people were hyped up for Kithgard. They were supposed to come out in September, October, sometime this fall, and they came out right before the launch was supposed to happen and said, "Hey guys, just to be fully transparent, OU, we didn't make enough. Y'all overwhelmed us with orders, which is awesome, but we need to ramp our production back up." So they made the hard call to delay Kithgard to February. That's a 6-month, wait where they could have pushed through to get the holiday sales and all the stuff and whatever. But no, they told us, like, we want to make sure that people aren't going to have to wait 2 or 3 months, just to get their starter boxes and stuff. So, that's not always a fun thing to hear as a player, as somebody who's excited, but they've been completely upfront with us about the stuff, about their challenges, about the stuff they're excited about. So they're just continuing to have just an honest dialogue with us as players, which is very refreshing, because you just don't often have that from game companies. Certainly, hardly ever hear about that kind of stuff from other manufacturers. It's easy to pick on GW because they're the biggest bull in the China shop, but they kind of just do what they want. They just decide, like, hey, we're gonna sunset the entire Beastman army out of Age of Sigmar, and if you want to play with them, I guess play Old World. Get wrecked, nerds. That kind of stuff. So, to their credit, this time they gave everybody, like, you've got 6 months until this happens, or whatever. So
yeah,
give them a little credit. But yeah, just really appreciating the transparency, and they're following through on their promises. So it's very exciting.
we can talk about the Friday keynote probably till we're blue in the face, and we've probably bored you enough with that. So needless to say, it was really hard to get to sleep that night. We went and got some food, and then we ended up talking about it for a while, and then finally crashed. I got up early the next morning and went and picked up those purchases I told you about. Played some more on Arena, and then me and Anthony went and played in the play test. And oh boy, do I have so much to say about that I can't talk about.
Because of a nice NDA. No. So yeah, we at Lock and Load, they had a couple different sessions of what they called the playtest experience. And we were fortunate. Our session was sort of moderated by Jamie Perkins, who is sort of the lead product manager for Warmachine. He's also world team champion. Go Team England. But Jamie's always been a really good competitive player for years and years and years. even before Steamforged took over. So he ran the event, but Matt, the co-founder, Matt Hart, was in there with him, and we can't get into specifics, but some interesting stuff in the room for sure.
What I can do is this.
Sure. But I will say, just in general, the event was awesome. I hope
Yes.
they continue to do these because we got to see this material. We got to hear from the designers the thought process, play through, and then we got to offer feedback directly back to them. So that was very valuable. I hope for them as well as it was for us. And it was just nice to, like have that direct connection and contact with the team and talk through these new changes with them. It was awesome.
It was really cool because Matt was standing right beside me. That was on the tail end, and I was playing my Cricks, of course. We just kind of gushed over Cricks the whole time, and
Fanboys.
very, very cool dude. Him and Jamie both were very, very nice people. If you have a chance to do one of these at a future event, highly recommend doing it. It's very nice, and plus, as many wide array of people as we can get into these and give feedback, the better. It's only going to improve the game. And to them, it was if they can keep this stuff on lockdown with the NDAs, that they will probably continue to do that. But if a lot of leaks got out, they may not be able to, just for the sheer fact of play testing and things. So that's why we're being very, very cagey about what we're saying, because we don't want to break that confidence. We really appreciate being included in that stuff. I know everybody who was in that. I got to play with a good friend of ours, Kirk, who we absolutely love. He used to live near us and now is far away. And I got so lucky to get to play with him in that, and we just had a ball. We had such a blast playing with each other. So
I played Corey, and he just stomped me to death with his Gravediggers, but we still had a good time.
that's what he does. We had some lunch after that to a place I highly recommend. There's a soup dumpling place that I think is just called St. Louis Soup Dumplings. Is that right?
Yes.
Highly recommend going there if you're ever in St. Louis. Great, amazing. 10 out of 10. Then we went back and me and Anthony went to the
lore session.
Yes.
Yeah, it was called State of the Iron Kingdoms, and it was a 1-hour session to just sit and hear about, sort of how things are going at the current timeline in the Iron Kingdoms, and had like a really cool presentation with Sherwin, the current lore master, and a Q&A session at the end. I won't go through everything, but we touched on just about every one of the major players that are in the setting, even ones that aren't represented with a Mark IV army yet. We talked about Menoth, we talked about Scorn, we talked about what they're up to, that kind of stuff. And so the big takeaway that I'll share with this is it really seemed to me that they are sort of positioning the Cephalics in the lore to sort of be the big bad guys of whatever sort of scenario that we're heading to as far as what's going on in the lore. So they've renewed their alliance with Crix, and Crix has a new alliance with the Orgoth, since they gave Blighterghast a thonk back to Lord Toruk. So they're sort of this triumvirate of mustache twirling evil dudes that are they're doing something right now. Apparently down near where in the Southern Creoles in the subcontinent of Alshier, where Madrax led his folks after they left Western Imran. So we'll see what's going on as things develop with that. But
something.
they're building something underground, so we'll find out more about that, I'm sure, as the story keeps progressing. But again, Sherwin, just a classy guy, answered a bunch of questions that those of us in the audience had. Yeah, just a good time. Recommend heartily.
Went and played some My Arena after that. I played a great a Grimkin player who that was a nail biter of a game. I thought I was gonna get lucky and get into him, and basically I killed like three of his. I killed Magnus or Invictus, and then 2 or 3 Skin and Bones the first round. And I was like, oh, this is going really good. And then he just came back and hit me hard. We have a Grimkin player in our meta, but he doesn't get to play that much. He's missing a lot of the models that he needs to play. So it was really nice to get some experience into that, because that Arcana is pretty scary. I do a pretty good job with that. Then we kind of went home and crashed after that. We were pretty wore out. Long days.
Yeah, I think all of us had, by that point in time, we had sort of made the decision that we had bought all the stuff we wanted to buy. We had got to spend good time with all the friends that we wanted to see, and we sort of made the sort of decision that Sunday we would not be going back to the convention proper, but we would, do our pre-heading home ritual of going to eat some delicious St. Louis barbecue. So we loaded up after we checked out of our Airbnb and went to Pappy's Smokehouse, which is, I don't know what metrics these things are judged by, but they've won many, many awards for best ribs, just period. I think national competitions, that kind of stuff. So we'd eaten there once before, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. And we went back there and sort of had our last family meal together, which it was maybe not the best choice to eat just an absolute big ass plate of meat and carbs before attempting a 5-hour drive back home. But we did it because, it's ribs. That's what you're supposed to do. But yeah, the most important thing about these events, the competition's great. Getting to explore new places are great, but the reason you go is to have a good time with your friends, whether it's the friends you bring with you, or the friends that you meet there, or the friends that you get to meet that you end up making at the convention. And all of that went down this year at Warfaire Weekend / Lock and Load. Everybody in our troop had an excellent time. Our, local meta and regional meta people that came all seemed to have a really good time. Everybody was big smiles and lots of hype, and it was incredible food and camaraderie. It was just a really good time. So I think, at least for me, we asked the question, some time ago when we started this, should you go to Warfaire Weekend? Should you go to Lock and Load? And, I think the only answer that I can possibly give that would be truthful is, if you like Warmachine, if this is whether you enjoy it on a casual level, a competitive level, you love the lore, or you're just starting to get into it, it is a really great place to go and spend a long weekend. I had an absolute ball, and I cannot wait for next year.
That's the same with me. I had such a good time. And like I said, everybody I talked to was great. I didn't have a bad opponent one, except for that weird troll player from Collateral Damage.
We didn't even get to finish our game because we never do. We got interrupted.
Never do. They kicked us out in the middle of our game to get ready for the keynote. But everybody there is great. Everybody is very respectful of your stuff. Is very respectful of your time. Everybody just wants to have a good time there, and you can tell that and you can feel it. I'd highly recommend going. Like I said, if you're into Warmachine, if that's what you're into, in any form or fashion, go have a good time.
Yep. All right. We should probably wrap this up. It's probably getting a little long in the tooth. I can only imagine that we'll have to edit some of this out. But just before we wrap up, what is the one thing, Mike, that you're looking forward to the most come January?
Oh, I am very excited to see the reworks with the spell rack changes. I am pretty excited to see where all that falls. if I'm going to have Carnage at all. I'm going to be okay if I don't have it on anybody. Go out and say it. But I'm excited to see where those changes fall and what new spells are created that go with these casters. So, like, I think Morty will keep synergy because it goes with her caster. It makes sense for her to have it. So, but I think that's what I'm most excited about. What about you?
Yeah. Well, I think I'd be disingenuous if I said anything other than Crucible Guard. And I know that we got, a couple days after Lock and Load wrapped up, we got the full like change log of what was happening for Crucible Guard. We got the new model rules, what had changed on the old models. But if I were a betting man, and I'm typically not unless it's a sure thing, I think we're yet to see the final evolution of their rules. I do think, just based on some of the conversations that were had about lethality, about some of the conversations that were had about some of the after effects of the spell rack. I know Crucible Guard doesn't have the spell rack right now, but I think, I think they can easily get some really high rats and mats. I think they've probably got some tweaks yet to come. So, whether they get a big change or not, that's what I'm most excited about. Just getting more of the releases from their STL shop and getting them printed out and painted up and on the table. It's only been 2 weeks and I'm not necessarily the world's fastest painter. I've almost got that whole 30-point cadre painted up just because I'm ready. My body is ready.
Take me now.
I want those Warcaster drugs.
I'm excited to play them and die horribly to 2-point corrosion damage never goes out.
Well, I mean, you'll not take it because you're immune on your sledge throw, so whatever. Okay, well, I think from all of us here at Collateral Damage, and of course the co-host Mike, we appreciate y'all joining us for this sort of deconstruction of our long weekend at Warfare Weekend / Lock and Load. We hope this was informative or entertaining at least for folks. And if you guys like this sort of content, give us the thumbs up, give us the subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, do all the stuff that makes the algorithm happy. We'll be back soon with another battle report. We've got one in the can that's just waiting on voiceover to be added in and should have that out soon. But in the meantime, we appreciate you and we'll catch you the next time on
Collateral Damage.
Just leave it in at this point.